Empty your pockets. All of them. The checkpoint guard's voice was sharp as he dumped the contents of the woman's worn backpack onto the metal inspection table. Out tumbled civilian clothes, expired medication, and a crumpled bus ticket. Ma'am, your visitor's pass is 3 weeks overdue, and you're carrying no valid ID. She stood silently as they rifled through her belongings, showing no emotion when they mocked her appearance. But when a small leather wallet fell open, revealing a faded military ID with the words Classified Operations Division, the laughter stopped. The senior guard squinted at the photo, then at her face, then whispered into his radio. "We need Colonel Martinez down here immediately." Welcome to True Story Zone. Before we dive into this incredible story of forgotten guardians, hidden service, and a moment when a routine security check reveals a legend in disguise, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. The main entrance to Ramstein Air Base in Germany processed thousands of visitors each week. Military families, contractors, delivery personnel, and civilians with authorized business on the installation. The security checkpoint operated with military precision, but the guards had seen it all. Forgotten IDs, expired passes, confused tourists who had taken wrong turns. Staff Sergeant James Mueller and Specialist Amy Chun worked the morning shift, checking credentials and conducting security screenings with a methodical efficiency that kept the base secure. They were accustomed to routine problems and standard solutions. The woman who approached their station at 0847 hours appeared to be just another minor headache. She was in her early 50s, about 5 feet 6 inches with graying brown hair pulled back loosely, wearing civilian clothes that had seen better days, faded jeans, a worn sweater, and scuffed sneakers. Her face showed the kind of weariness that came from long travel and little sleep. "Purpose of your visit?" Sergeant Mueller asked automatically, extending his hand for her documentation. Consulting on base security protocols, she replied quietly, producing a visitor's pass that was clearly past its expiration date. Specialist Chin frowned as she examined the pass. "Ma'am, this expired 3 weeks ago. Do you have any current authorization to be on base?" The woman shook her head. "I was told someone would meet me here, but there seems to have been a miscommunication." Mueller's training kicked in. Expired credentials, vague purpose, no sponsor present. All red flags that required additional screening. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside for additional security checks. Please place your bag on the inspection table." What followed was a thorough but routine security inspection. The woman, who gave her name only as Ms. Rodriguez, complied with all requests without complaint. She stood patiently as they emptied her backpack, examining each item with practiced efficiency. The contents were unremarkable. A change of civilian clothes, personal hygiene items, prescription medication bottles with labels that had been partially removed, a paperback novel, and a bus ticket showing travel from Frankfurt to the base. Nothing suggested any security threat, but the expired credentials remained problematic. "Ma'am, without valid authorization, I cannot allow you onto the installation," Mueller explained. "You'll need to contact your sponsor and arrange for proper documentation." "Understand," she replied calmly. "May I use a phone to contact my office?" Chin gestured toward the visitor information area. "There's a courtesy phone over there, but you'll need to step outside the secure area first." As Ms. Rodriguez began repacking her belongings, a small leather wallet slipped from the inner pocket of her sweater and fell to the floor. Chin picked it up, intending to hand it back, but the wallet had fallen open, revealing its contents. What she saw made her freeze. A laminated military identification card with a photograph that clearly showed a younger version of the woman standing before them. But it wasn't the photo that stopped Chin cold. It was the text below it. The ID read, "Major Carmen Rodriguez, U.S. Army, Classified Operations Division, Security Clearance, Cosmic Level." Below that, in smaller text, "Authorized for special access programs, presidential support activities." Chin's voice caught in her throat. "Sergeant Mueller." Mueller looked at the ID card that Chun handed him, his expression shifting from routine professionalism to genuine shock. Cosmic level security clearance was beyond anything he'd ever seen. higher than top secret, higher than the compartmentalized programs he knew existed but had never encountered. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "this identification, it shows you as active duty military, but you're in civilian clothes and your visitor's pass indicates civilian contractor status." Carmen Rodriguez met his gaze steadily. "That's because I'm not supposed to exist in any official capacity. The Classified Operations Division doesn't appear on any organizational charts." Specialist Chun had heard rumors about such units, groups that operated so far outside normal military structure that even their existence was classified. She'd always assumed they were myths, stories that circulated among intelligence personnel. "Major, I need to verify this through proper channels," Mueller said, reaching for his radio. "Sergeant, if you run my name through standard verification systems, you'll get a response indicating no such person exists," Carmen warned. "My unit operates under protocols that require special authentication procedures." Mueller hesitated. Standard procedure was clear. Unverified credentials meant denial of access. But cosmic-level clearance suggested involvement in operations at the highest levels of government and military command. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to wait here while I contact my supervising officer," he decided. Within minutes, Colonel Martinez, the base security commander, arrived at the checkpoint. He was a veteran officer with 25 years of experience, but even he had never encountered a situation like this. Colonel Martinez studied the identification card in the privacy of the checkpoint office, his expression growing more serious with each detail he noticed. The card contained security features he recognized from the most classified documents he'd ever handled: watermarks, embedded chips, and authentication codes that couldn't be forged. "Major Rodriguez," he said formally, "I need to understand what brings you to Ramstein and why you're not traveling through official channels." Carmen's voice remained calm and professional. "Colonel, 3 weeks ago, your base was selected for a classified security assessment. I was sent to conduct a comprehensive evaluation of your defensive protocols, but the mission parameters required that I approach through civilian channels to test your checkpoint procedures. An expired visitor's pass. Part of the test. We needed to see how your personnel would handle someone with legitimate but unconventional credentials attempting to access the installation." Martinez felt the pieces beginning to fit together. "You're telling me this entire situation is a security exercise?" "Partially. The security assessment is real and necessary. But your guard's response to my presence is also being evaluated. So far, they've performed exactly as their training dictates." The colonel reached for his secure phone. "I need to verify this through Pentagon channels." "Sir, you'll want to use the Special Access Verification Protocol. The number is on the back of my ID card." Martinez found the number, a sequence he'd never seen before, and placed the call. After a series of authentication checks and security verifications that took nearly 30 minutes, he received confirmation that Major Carmen Rodriguez was indeed conducting authorized operations at Ramstein. When Colonel Martinez returned to the checkpoint, his demeanor had completely changed. He approached Carmen with the respect due to a senior officer conducting classified operations. "Major Rodriguez, I apologize for the delay. Your mission status has been confirmed through appropriate channels." Sergeant Mueller and Specialist Chun watched in amazement as their base commander suddenly treated the woman they'd been screening as a potential security risk like a visiting dignitary. "Sergeant Mueller, Specialist Chun," Martinez addressed his guards, "I want you to know that your adherence to security protocols in this situation has been exemplary. You identified irregular credentials, conducted appropriate screening procedures, and escalated the situation through proper channels." Carmen nodded approvingly. "Your checkpoint procedures are sound. You correctly identified potential security concerns and followed proper verification protocols. That's exactly what should happen when unusual circumstances arise." She turned to Chun, who was still processing the situation. "Specialist, you were right to be suspicious of the expired visitor's pass. Never let anyone convince you to overlook security irregularities, regardless of what credentials they claim to possess." "Ma'am," Mueller asked hesitantly, "were we really being tested this entire time?" "Every interaction with base security is a test of sorts," Carmen replied. But yes, your response to unconventional situations is part of what we evaluate. You passed. Over the following 3 days, Major Rodriguez conducted her security assessment with the full cooperation of base personnel. Her evaluation covered everything from perimeter security to communication protocols, access control procedures, to emergency response capabilities. The scope of her investigation was comprehensive and revealing. Carmen spent hours in the base command center, observing how personnel handled classified communications and emergency protocols. She tested response times by creating simulated security incidents, measuring how quickly information flowed through the chain of command. During her assessment of the motor pool, she discovered vulnerabilities in vehicle inspection procedures that could potentially allow unauthorized materials onto the base. Her recommendations included enhanced training for security personnel and improved scanning equipment that would detect threats missed by current protocols. The base communications center revealed both strengths and weaknesses in cybersecurity measures. Carmen's expertise in electronic warfare allowed her to identify potential points of infiltration that had been overlooked by previous security reviews. She worked directly with the IT security team to implement countermeasures that would protect against sophisticated cyber attacks. Perhaps most importantly, she evaluated the human element of base security. Carmen conducted interviews with personnel at every level, from senior officers to junior enlisted soldiers, assessing their understanding of security protocols and their commitment to maintaining operational security even under pressure. Security isn't just about equipment and procedures, she explained to Colonel Martinez during one of their daily briefings. It's about creating a culture where every person understands their role in protecting the installation and the people who depend on it. Her psychological assessment of base personnel was particularly thorough. Carmen had been trained to identify potential security risks among military personnel, individuals who might be susceptible to foreign intelligence recruitment, financial pressure, or ideological manipulation. Her evaluation found no immediate threats, but recommended enhanced screening procedures for personnel with access to sensitive information. The dining facility security protocols came under scrutiny when Carmen discovered gaps in the screening of food service personnel. She noted that civilian contractors working in food preparation areas had access to spaces that could potentially be used to introduce contraband or surveillance equipment into the base. She worked quietly and methodically, observing operations without disruption, interviewing key personnel, and testing security systems in ways that revealed both strengths and vulnerabilities. Her recommendations would influence security procedures not just at Ramstein, but at installations across the military. But what impressed the base staff most was her approach. Carmen Rodriguez didn't arrive with fanfare or demand special treatment. She had tested their systems by presenting herself as a potential problem to be solved, not as an authority figure to be accommodated. Most security assessments are artificial, she explained to Colonel Martinez during her final briefing. When everyone knows they're being evaluated, they perform differently than they would during routine operations. Real security depends on how personnel respond to unexpected situations. The comprehensive nature of Carmen's assessment became clear during her final presentation to the base command staff. She had identified 17 specific areas where security could be enhanced, ranging from minor procedural adjustments to major infrastructure improvements. Each recommendation included detailed implementation plans and cost-benefit analyses. Her report praised the checkpoint guards' professionalism and adherence to protocol. She noted that Mueller and Chun had correctly prioritized security over convenience, properly escalated unusual situations, and maintained respectful treatment of individuals even while enforcing necessary restrictions. The checkpoint is the first line of defense for this installation, Carmen emphasized. The personnel working there understand that their role extends beyond checking identification cards. They're trained to recognize patterns, assess threats, and respond appropriately to unusual situations. On her final day at Ramstein, Carmen Rodriguez returned to the same checkpoint where she'd first been screened. She approached as herself this time, in uniform, with proper credentials, following official protocols. Sergeant Mueller and Specialist Chun were working the same shift, and they recognized her immediately. "Major, it's good to see you again," Mueller said with genuine respect. "Thank you, Sergeant. I wanted to personally commend both of you for your professionalism during our initial encounter. Your response to that situation demonstrated exactly the kind of security mindset that keeps installations like this safe. Should have been thinking about the experience for days. Ma'am, may I ask why you chose to test us that way? Wasn't there risk that we might have denied you access entirely?" Carmen smiled, the first time either guard had seen her do so. "Specialist, if you had denied me access for following proper security procedures, that would have told me everything I needed to know about the integrity of your checkpoint. The fact that you were willing to enforce regulations regardless of inconvenience or pressure showed me that this base takes security seriously. Will we see you again?" Mueller asked. "Probably not," Carmen replied honestly. "But you'll see others like me, people who test your systems, your procedures, your commitment to security. Some will be friendly, some won't. Some will have proper credentials, others won't. Your job is to treat each situation according to established protocols, not according to who you think deserves special treatment." As she prepared to leave, Carmen handed Colonel Martinez her final report. "Your base is secure because your people understand that security isn't about convenience. It's about consistency. Keep training them that way." Major Carmen Rodriguez left Ramstein as quietly as she had arrived, boarding a commercial flight to her next assignment. To most observers, she appeared to be just another traveler in civilian clothes, carrying a small bag and moving through the airport without drawing attention. Her departure marked the end of an assessment that would influence military security protocols for years to come. The report she submitted to the Pentagon contained 247 pages of detailed analysis, recommendations, and implementation guidelines that would be distributed to bases worldwide. But at checkpoints across the military, her legend grew. The story spread among security personnel. The woman who tested systems by appearing vulnerable, who evaluated defenders by challenging their procedures, who measured strength by observing how rules were enforced when no one important was watching. 6 months after Carmen's visit, Ramstein Air Base received recognition as the most improved installation in the European theater for security protocols. The changes implemented based on her recommendations had measurably enhanced the base's defensive capabilities while improving efficiency of daily operations. Sergeant Mueller was promoted to Staff Sergeant and received additional training in advanced security screening techniques. His performance during Carmen's initial screening was cited as an example of proper protocol adherence under unusual circumstances. Specialist Chun was selected for the Military Police Advanced Course and went on to become a security training instructor. She often told the story of the expired visitor's pass that led to the discovery of a legend, emphasizing to her students that every security challenge contains lessons about the importance of following procedures. Colonel Martinez incorporated Carmen's assessment methodology into regular training exercises at Ramstein. Security personnel now regularly face tests designed to challenge their decision-making abilities when confronted with unusual situations that didn't fit standard protocols. The Classified Operations Division continued its work across the globe, with personnel like Carmen Rodriguez conducting assessments that would never appear in official reports. Their missions remained classified, their identities protected, their contributions acknowledged only by those who understood the critical importance of testing security systems through realistic challenges. Other bases began reporting similar encounters. Individuals with unusual credentials who challenged checkpoint procedures, tested response protocols, and disappeared after brief interactions that left security personnel questioning everything they thought they knew about proper procedures. The pattern was always the same. Someone would appear with credentials that seemed problematic, challenge security procedures through their presence rather than their actions, and ultimately reveal themselves as legitimate military personnel conducting classified assessments. Sergeant Mueller and Specialist Chun continued their duties with renewed understanding of their role's importance. They had learned that real security came not from avoiding problems, but from properly handling them when they arose. The checkpoint where Carmen had first been screened became known throughout the base as a place where procedures were followed without exception. New security personnel assigned to Ramstein were specifically briefed about the importance of maintaining protocol consistency, regardless of circumstances or personalities involved. Training scenarios now included role-playing exercises where personnel practiced handling situations involving unusual credentials, expired documentation, and individuals who claimed legitimate reasons for accessing the installation despite procedural irregularities. And sometimes, late at night, when the checkpoint was quiet, they would remember the lesson Carmen Rodriguez had taught them, that the most important security tests come not from obvious threats, but from situations that challenge your commitment to doing the right thing when it would be easier to look the other way. Years later, when Mueller and Shun had moved on to other assignments, they would tell their own subordinates about the day they screened a major from the Classified Operations Division who had tested their commitment to security through the simple act of presenting expired credentials. The story became part of military security folklore, the reminder that Guardians must be prepared to be tested by other Guardians, and that the strongest defenses are built by people who understand that real security is measured not by the threats you see coming, but by how well you handle the ones you don't expect. The Classified Operations Division remained as mysterious as ever, its personnel continuing to work in the shadows where their service could never be publicly acknowledged. But their mission continued, testing the systems that protected everyone else, ensuring that security remained strong even when no one knew they were watching. Because the best Guardians are often the ones who test other Guardians, and the strongest defenses are built by people who understand that real security requires constant vigilance, proper training, and the courage to follow procedures even when those procedures seem inconvenient or unnecessary.